Hey everyone, Caricature here, and in this video I want to talk to you about a concept I'm calling the right side of being wrong. Okay, so what the heck do you mean by that, man? Right side of being wrong? What is that? All right, so let's explain to our friend what that is. Okay, so I guess a way I can explain this is with eyes. So when you see eyes on a head in 3/4, let's just make a generic head here. Ooh. All right. What happens is you get some foreshortening that happens here, where this eye is foreshortened, so it's shorter than this one, because we're looking more at this one, and this one's kind of going off to the side. What else? Well, the eyebrow is also going to follow that, where it's kind of going around like that, and for this one, it's coming like that, maybe, in this particular head anyway. So what do we notice about that? Well, let me just erase some of these guides. What we know is that this eyebrow, if you look at its position, it's closer to this side, and there's like a bit of a space here right above this part of the tear duct, whereas this eyebrow appears to be coming more to, this side, and the tear duct is underneath quite a bit of eyebrow. Now, if I add the nose here, it makes a bit more sense. But yeah, we get this type of thing going on. Okay, what about the iris? Well, this iris is a bit more open than this iris. Okay. Now we also see more eyelashes on the side of this eye than this one. This one we see it more at the top. This one we see it at the top, but also the side. Why? Because the eyelashes are growing out like this. And so here, there's more overlap of those eyelashes, making them look darker. And also we see them at an angle, so we see more of the side of this eyelash. Okay, what else? Well, the pupil is not going to be in the center, like if it was in a front view, right? You see a pupil kind of like this. We're not going to see it like that, because the pupil is actually just a hollow part of the iris. It's going to be inset a little. What I mean by that is, see how there's more room here than here. It's not like this. So the pupil's pushed back a little bit, and on this side it's even more so. It's even more thin. And that's the same for the iris. It's going to be, you see less of it on this side because of foreshortening. It's compressed. Okay. So we talked about quite a few things here. We talked about this distant eye. We can call it that. So the distant eye is shorter, more compressed, and bigger eyelashes, or more. Okay, I'm going to call it bigger eyelashes. You know what I mean, because we just talked about it, but it's not like the eyelashes are physically bigger. And the eyebrow placement. Eyebrow is more off to the side, or more space in the middle, however you want to think of it. But those are a few of the things we noticed, right? Okay, so let's say for this example that this is good or correct. Like what we have here, let's say, is the correct version of what this person looks like. All right. So, oops. I don't know why I'm drawing a nose. Okay, so this is correct. So let's say correct is here. Correct. All right. Now, there are two sides or two directions we can go. And both are incorrect, right? Because they're not correct. So this is correct is here. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. Here is incorrect. Here is incorrect. As you go further away from correct, you get incorrect. Or wrong. Wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong too. All right. We got two sides wrong, one side of correct. All right. So, what? Let's just say, let's define these. Okay. We said that this side of the eye got shorter, right? Because it's foreshortened. Foreshortened. So, there's one side of incorrect, which is too foreshortened. We could go even more foreshortened than we should have gone. And on the other side, we could have gone not foreshortened enough. Enough. All right. Now, somewhere, usually it's on this side, there is this idea of what would you, if you didn't know better, or if you were just a layman, what would your guess be that about what happens? So, for instance, with the pupil, people generally think the pupil is in the middle of the iris, right? So that's like common knowledge. So maybe it's what you might expect. Okay, so the pupil is in the middle. Then when you draw it from a view like this and the pupil's slightly offset, you know, like, so it's not quite in the middle. That's not exactly what you expect. What you expect is that, you know, pupil is in the middle, so here, put it in the middle instead of put it, you know, slightly offset. So what you expect is things to be a little more safe, I guess, where they're, you know, things are in the middle in this case, as opposed to, you know, things being offset as they truly are. So, which direction, like, maybe you ideally want to get to correct, although for me, I personally don't. I want to be a bit incorrect, but I'll show you why. That which direction of this do you want to be on? Most people are on this side. They always go towards what you expect, and they stay there. So instead, my thing is to say be on this side. So, for instance, if we made an eye and it's foreshortened like this, it could go two ways. Again, you could make the eye here. Maybe this is correct, and we do this. All right, so this is more incorrect, right, than the correct version, but it's as incorrect as the version where we keep the eye dead center. This, however, you know why this looks more correct sometimes? Because of contact lenses. Because contact lenses do this. They make the eye more in the center because the way they are is like this. Then they've got a little hole, so it's actually not lining up properly. And that's an easy way of seeing if someone's wearing contact lenses. Just look at their pupil. If it looks like it's slightly in the wrong spot, it's probably contact lenses. But anyway, so we have two ways we can go. I always go into more wrong, but towards the right, like towards the truth. So if this is the truth and you expect to be here, I would rather be wrong in this direction than in this direction. So that applies to a bunch of things. For instance, let's say we were dealing with color. Okay, let's say we're dealing with skin color. So maybe we've got like a skin color, you know, something like that for this person. All right. So boom. All right, now let's do the shadow color. And maybe the shadow color is something like this. Okay, so here, I'll just do like very basic shading on this. Here we have a skin tone and a shadow, right? All right, so, and you know, there'd be tones there, but whatever. We have these two. Okay. So what would you say, what would you expect with these colors, first of all? When you think about shadow, what is this thing, what you might expect? Usually it's that you'd expect the shadow to be darker, right? Like shadows are darker. All right. So that's what you expect. Now, what is the reality of it? Well, the shadow is darker, that's true. But it's also warmer. See, this is cooler, this is warmer, more saturated. All right, so it got darker and warmer. So darker and warmer is the truth. You know, dark and warm. Oops, it's not even showing up. All right. Dark and warm, and what you might expect, and incorrect and wrong. Wrong. Got it wrong on the wrong side. All right. So it gets darker and warmer. So what we might imagine is that it gets darker. What the reality is it gets darker but also warmer. What would be incorrect in this direction? Well, if you made it more warm than it really is, because that's the thing that we don't expect. You could make it more dark, and then you're going in this direction, and even more in this direction would be less warm or more cool. So if we make this cooler than it should be, and we do something like this where we desaturate that shadow, do you see how muddy and dead that feels? And some people shade like this, where everything is like, yeah, it got darker. We didn't change the darkness. We could go even darker. But it makes the skin look really dead. So that's not what the skin color is. It's like, you know, a bit warmer. So, but if we go the other direction, and instead of going this way and making it more desaturated than it should be, we make it more saturated than it should be, it tends to look better. Like, it's still wrong, but it looks better. And, you know, we can make it a bit warmer. So now it's more towards the red, so warmer that way, and more saturated, so warmer that way. To me, that looks way better than if it is, you know, incorrect in this direction, where we went less saturated and more cool than the correct version, right? So that's the crux of this thing. You have to know what the right direction of being wrong is, and then you should be fine. And I like to be a little bit wrong, but in this direction. I like to be wrong. So this is the right side of being wrong. This is the wrong side of being wrong. So with this, you can kind of understand how anime styles work and what you can get away with. So I'm a big fan of like anime drawing styles. A lot of people aren't. And if you're just going for realism, you don't want to necessarily be dealing with this. Go for correct as much as you can. If you're going to be wrong, err on the side of the right side of being wrong, which is more towards the truth of what a thing is, but exaggerated. So if skin gets warmer in the shadows, and that's not exactly what you would expect. You would expect it to get darker. You wouldn't expect it necessarily to get warmer, but it does get warmer. Go even warmer. So for the side of the eye, for instance, you get foreshortened. Okay, so let's say this eye is like that big, and we go extra foreshortened like this. It'll still look fine. It's debatable when it comes to styles because they're like people have personal taste. For me, it looks fine. Some people might say that doesn't look fine at all. That looks really wrong to me. And usually that is dependent on your familiarity or comfort with the thing itself. So if you're really like, this looks super wrong, maybe you don't actually like anime styles, or you don't look at them too much, like you haven't seen them too much. And also with the eyebrow, if we go a bit further out this way and then further in this way, it's gonna be fine. There's another thing with the side of the face when it comes to the mouth, which is the mouth is quite a bit, it's like it's towards, you get like this thing, but it's towards this direction more than people expect. You often see people draw mouths very close to this edge, and they don't give enough space here. So correct might be something like that about the mouth placement. So there is, you know, a gap here. And then more incorrect, but in the right direction, would be you push it more this way. So let's say we put the mouth there. It's still fine, at least to me. It feels more fine than this, which just feels weird. Like the mouth is, if we looked in a side view, it's doing that. So that would be the wrong direction. So going back to our anime face, what we can do is we could push that mouth like all the way here. And I mean, it's wrong, but it's on the right side of wrong. And with the eyes, you know, we could push the eye, the pupil way back here. Push a pupil back here. We could make the eyelashes, you know, how we said the eyelashes come out a lot. We could really make them come out on this eye, make them come out, sure, but less on this eye. And you're still getting things that are interesting. When you look at eyes, the upper eyelashes and eyelid cast a shadow on the iris itself. You can add like exaggerate that, but have that there, it'll still be fine. You know, cheeks tend to get blush on them, and you could exaggerate that and just go, you know, really heavy with the blush. It's like, oh, it still looks fine. I mean, to me, it still looks fine. You could add, you know, there's usually highlights in eyes. So you could go, okay, well, let's say there's highlights like this. But then you could say, okay, I also, across from the highlight, it gets lighter on the opposite side. And you could really play that up. And there are little imperfections in the eye, or I don't know if it's imperfections, it's like the striations of the muscle of the iris. And so you could really, you know, go to town showing that, because that's not what you necessarily would expect, and that's not what people often draw. And what happens is over time you get a style that is very exaggerated, and people might say this doesn't look real, this isn't what real people look like, but it still is appealing, it still is fine, because all the decisions are on the right side of wrong. They're all towards the exaggeration of what really happens, as opposed to what isn't what happened. And so, you know, some of the styles, you know, that are dead giveaways of maybe how it used to be, more American artists would draw in these ways. Now things have changed because people are so much more exposed to manga and stuff that you have a lot more people doing it right, but sometimes you see it wrong, and it's usually this type of face where like, let's just do everything wrong, and you might recognize this style. So we'll start with the head. Okay. And the eyes are a bit low on the face. You get a bigger cranium. Let's make the eyes like dead center. Often what people think, or at least they used to think, is eyes are big, so they make the eyes big, and lots of eyelashes, and they do the eyelashes, you know, like this, where they're like coming out. The way I did it is horizontally. The reason I do that is because in a real eye, you do have eyelashes coming straight out, but there's so many of them that from far, you don't think of them as individuals. You perceive this more like a band of value. Now, if you draw that band of value with lines going horizontally like this, that is incorrect. However, it actually resembles reality more than if I did this. Right? So this is wrong, but it's on the right side of being wrong. So here's the wrong side, what I used to see. Okay, then noses, they would just give like a regular nose for a cartoon character, and they'd give a mouth. Now the mouth was often, the chin was bigger and the mouth was like really close to the side, and you get an ear, sure, and eyebrows, and then big eyes, but like just drawn big, and the pupils are in the middle, and then hair, whatever, you know, whatever hair you want to add, and then a lot of stuff in the eyes, because they would think, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the eyes, right? They put a lot of highlights, unnecessary highlights, but they like, I mean, I'm telling you, I've seen eyes like this. I've seen people's drawings like this. They're less common now, but you used to get how to draw manga books that had pictures like this in them. And so it's like, and then they'd be like, well, this is like a manga style, right? It's big eyes and you know, nailed it. What more do you want? So Anyway, so this is the wrong side of right. This is the right side of wrong. No, this is the wrong side of wrong. This is the right side of wrong. I'm getting confused. But hopefully this makes sense now. And it applies to caricature as well. Anytime you see something, like you see, let's say, a dude, and he's got big nose, all right? And he's got like low brow, and eyes are like that, all right? So a lot of artists start out drawing this generic type of like Loomis head, like this. Everything is pretty standard. So they'll see the nose and they'll think, okay, big nose, and they'll do something like this. Maybe they don't even notice the eyebrows were lower, and so maybe they give you this type of thing and they think, well, this is more right, and right, because see, I followed the Loomis head and I made it all structured. It's like, well, not really. This guy's nose comes out a lot. The brows are really low. So what would be more correct, in my view, would be like this. Is more correct. Say this gets even lower. Kind of looks like an Easter Island statue. But out of these two directions, like going this way or going this way, if this is correct, and you know, in what world is this correct, man? What are you drawing? It's totally out there in a completely different dimension. But I would rather have this, and I think this is much more accurate to this than this one is. This one is all like, well, the eyes are really bothering me because I didn't do a good job of the placement. Sorry. I'm sorry. I just have to fix it. Okay. And let's say, you know, the eyes are here. And we draw eyebrows here. It's like, the brows aren't like this. They're really low and going towards the eye. Nose is big. It gets so big it breaks the form. Here, broke the form. You know, head, top of the head is short. Make it super short. So, yeah, I much rather have this. And a lot of people who are, you know, even intermediate artists, one of the problems is they'll look at something like this, they'll say it's wrong, and they'll say to do this. Or they'll look at something like this, and rather than going towards correct, which would be here, which is a slight adjustment, they say to go here. Or you should learn your fundamentals and draw the heads with the correct structure. It should look more like a Loomis. And then it's like that, and it's, oh. All right. So anyway, that's my spiel on the right side of being wrong. I hope it helped, and thanks for watching.